What would it feel like to be truly, deeply happy, regardless of your circumstances? Did you know that happiness is a choice and not a result? That you can create your life on purpose? Join us now to learn more. This is the Time to Rise and Thrive radio show. And here's your host, mindset coach, and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott.
Hello and welcome. Welcome to Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott. Today we are talking about celebrate you. Celebrate you. What if there was a way to bring in that celebration energy for no apparent reason or, no good reason? Because isn't that the thing? Don't we have this idea that there needs to be a good reason to celebrate? Like, birthday or Christmas or New Year's or something. We have to have a good reason to celebrate. Or maybe you got a new job or a promotion or something. Don't we have this idea? But here's the thing. What if by bringing that into your world, by acknowledging who you are, how brilliant and amazing and beautiful you are just by your mere presence? What if bringing that kind of energy into your world could actually create more reasons to celebrate? What if bringing that kind of energy into your world gave you more to offer the people that you love? Would you be interested in that? Because, yeah, absolutely, right? So that's what we're going to be talking about today on the show. So what do we do here on Time to Rise and Thrive? We talk about our subliminal soundtrack. I'll explain that for you quickly in just a moment. We talk about, recognizing our own unique value, our beauty, our things that make us special and unique in this world. That's what we do every Friday. So if you are looking for something that, will lift your spirits or help you to think about things in a different way, I'm here every Friday, and you can find Time to Rise and Thrive on any of your on-demand channels. Wherever you watch your podcasts, you'll be able to find us there. We are on, oh, good Lord. Amazon was one that I just found out about. Spotify, Spreaker, YouTube, the inspiredchoicesnetwork.com list of podcasts. We are everywhere. We're even on TV, Binge Network. I don't even know. I have no idea, but I think it's up to 450 channels now. So if you are not in a position where you can actually really embrace what we're talking about right now, go and find us. Go and find us. I believe it was 2 weeks ago we recorded my 100th TV episode. Isn't that exciting? So hold on. Did you see what just happened there? Did you see what just happened? Right. That is celebrating yourself, my friend. That just that all by itself. All right. So what are we talking about today? So confession, November is my birth month, which means that I'm a Scorpio, and which means that my birthday is next week. Yay. And I'm turning 51, and I've learned a whole lot of stuff, especially in the last few years, that has caused me to understand this in a totally different way. So naturally, when it comes right up to the time that we're going to be celebrating our birthday, it makes you think about things, right? It makes you think about, what have I accomplished this year? What would I like to accomplish next year? Same thing, when we're coming up to New Year's or any other sort of time in the year where it's about starting something new, right? So what if we could just play with that whenever we wanted to? What if you don't need a good reason? What if you could celebrate the cashier at the store for doing a great job? What if you could talk to somebody on the street and thank them? I remember years ago, I was in the hospital. I was actually in the ER, and there was a fellow that was cleaning the stuff. And you should have seen his face when I actually stopped him for a second and said, "Hey man, you're doing a really great job. Thank you so much for what you're doing." Celebration of a job well done, right? So as we go through the show today, we're going to talk about all kinds of stuff that relates to this idea of celebrating you and why it's so important for us to do this. So before we get there, I want to tell you about this subliminal soundtrack thing, because it's really the foundation of almost everything that we talk about on the show. So what is a subliminal soundtrack? This is the loop of messages that plays in the back of your mind all day, every day. It's made up of all kinds of information that you've picked up throughout the course of your life. So every conversation you've had, every lesson you've learned, every relationship you've shared, every single experience has given you little tiny bits of information that you've collected and stored back there on that subliminal soundtrack. Now, that information is used to create our belief systems. So, what does it mean to love or be loved? What does it mean to be successful? What does it mean to be a good, whatever, fill in the blank, right? Wife, mother, husband, father. What does it mean to be good at something? All of those things are the belief systems that are stored back there on our subliminal soundtrack. So, a couple of really important things to understand about our subliminal soundtrack is first, what we believe to be true will be true for us, even if it's based on completely incorrect information. So, have you ever had a conversation with somebody and you know that they really believe what they're saying to be true? You know that they really believe, and yet you have information or you have a perspective or you have an experience that tells you that what they are so attached to is actually completely incorrect. Have you ever had that or that sort of a conversation? Have you ever seen where, you've got two different people who see exactly the same thing? This can be an experience in real life. It could be something that they watched on TV. It could be that they've seen the same meme or video on Facebook. It could be anything. And one person reacts from a place of, oh my God, I have never seen something so funny. And somebody else goes, that is the most offensive thing that I have ever seen. Right. So that is subliminal soundtrack in action, because their belief system is what is telling them that either this is really funny or it is really not. It's the belief system that they carry about whatever that subject matter is. So the second piece of very important information to understand about our subliminal soundtrack is that we create our circumstances to support the belief systems that we carry. So if you are somebody who is struggling and you don't really understand why, or you're stuck and you don't know what's causing you to be stuck, very often it is because of the stuff that's going on back there and we don't realize it. That's why it's so important for us to get clear on this. So if you buy into negative messaging about money, for example, then you are very likely going to, even if you come into a large sum of it, you're going to find a way to rid yourself of the problem. Okay. So this is why, what do you call it? Lottery winners, and even people who inherit lots of money, so many people who come across this big sum of money find themselves broke or in an even worse position just a few years later, because their messages around what it means for them to have money are actually problematic and will cause them to get rid of it. Okay. Same thing if you have negative messaging around love. So, what does it mean to love or be loved, right? If love hurts, then we will very often create our circumstances to keep that away. Keep that away so we don't get hurt, right? So, it's very, very important for us to get a clear understanding of what's happening back there and where it's necessary or where it would be helpful. Shift those things around. And there's a whole process that I go through. So I'll tell you this right now, and you can go there now. You can go after the show. You can go whenever you like, but go to jackiemott.com and there is a free e-guide that I've written. It's called 5 Steps to Create a Mindset Wired for Success. And in that book, I share with you the steps that I walk through with my clients, the steps that I walked through as I was addressing my own mindset issues so that I could start to create a life that gave me joy and fulfillment and abundance and all of those sorts of things. It's completely free. Go grab that. And if you have any questions, of course, get in touch with me. Okay. So let's bring this subliminal soundtrack thing into what does it mean in the context of celebrating you? What does it mean? So if you believe that your value, oh, this one was very ouchy for me when I wrote it. If you believe that your value is determined by the opinions of others, you will never, never, capitalized, underlined, never. You'll never learn to see your unique value, and you will live at the mercy of the opinions of other people. Mm, it's not a good way to live. I know I did that for a very long time. It is not a happy place to be. Okay. But if you are someone who has come to understand and recognize that every accomplishment is worth celebrating, that who you are is worth celebrating, that you make a difference simply by your mere presence on this planet. When you have come to that place, then you will acknowledge, then you will celebrate, you will allow yourself the time, the space, the resources, whatever that may be. Right. And people will celebrate in different ways. So I want to be really clear. This doesn't necessarily have to be a big deal. Right. But maybe you go out for a lunch with a friend. Maybe you go for a walk in nature. Maybe you go away on a trip. These things don't have to necessarily be huge, expensive things. Maybe you dance around your house saying, oh my God, I'm so excited, right? Maybe it's just that. Maybe you talk to your friends and say, oh, this just happened. So when you are in that position, then you will bring that energy into your world. And when you bring that energy into your world, you can create some really beautiful things, not only for yourself, but also for the people who care about you. Because one of the really important things for us to acknowledge is that, especially when we are dealing with young children, we are teaching them, and not just kids, right? But we are teaching them how to relate to the world. We are teaching them what our place in the world means. We are helping them form that subliminal soundtrack. So, especially when you're working with really small children, what you do will be that example that they use. So if they see mom or dad or auntie or whomever you are in their life, if they see you taking a moment to say, wow, this feels good, I did a great job, what happens when they feel like they've accomplished something? Right. And don't we want them to perceive themselves from that place of, you did a great job? Don't we want to bring that energy into their world and help them understand how amazing that they truly are? Mm-hmm. So this is one of the ways that we can do this. So let's sort of take it a little bit deeper on this subliminal soundtrack. One of the things that I was really tearing apart this morning as I was thinking this through was this idea of deserving. Okay. And there is this idea that we need to deserve the approval of others, the reason to celebrate. We need to earn that. We need to deserve that. So when we have stuff that's sort of messed up back there, then we'll miss out on so many other things. And I want to just really clearly say this. If you are the person who is waiting for approval from outside of yourself, if you've never taken the time to get to know yourself and appreciate your own unique, special talents and beauty, then you are playing a losing game, because you are living at the mercy of someone else's moods, feelings, desires, all of those sorts of things, right? And when we're living at the mood or at the mercy of other people, what happens? Do we accomplish what we're here to do? Do we feel fulfilled in what we're doing, or do we allow somebody else's ideas to dictate who we are, how we perceive ourselves? This is where gaslighting and abuse and stuff can become really possible. So it's so important for us to develop that belief, that self-confidence, that idea that I know who I am. Mm-hmm. So I'm getting I'm getting a finger. It's time to go to our first break. So we are going to head to that first break. When we come back, we're going to continue digging into this idea of celebrating you. Why is it so important to acknowledge your accomplishments, to acknowledge who you are, what you bring to the table. Ah, I love talking about this stuff. So stick with us for a moment. When we come back, we're going to continue this conversation. You are with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I am your host, Jackie Mott. We will be back in just a moment.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca, where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I am your host, Jackie Mott. Today we are talking about celebrate you. Why is it so important for us to learn to acknowledge who we are, what we bring to the table, what makes us unique and special? Why is that so important? It's so important because how do you ever become who you were born to be if you don't acknowledge who you are? It's a great question, right? So let's just think about that while we go through the rest of today's show. And I'm going to encourage you, if you do not have a pen and paper already with you, and if you're in a position, please God, if you're writing or if you're driving, don't worry about this right now. Go and find us on one of those on-demand channels. But if you have the opportunity, grab a pen and paper, because as we go through, there's going to be a couple of things. And when we get into the next segment, we always sort of walk through some like tips, some sort of, I don't want to say concrete, but that's the only one that's coming to me. But the like, how do you do this? How do you do this? All right. So pen and paper is a good idea. And on-demand channels, search Time to Rise and Thrive or Jackie Mott, and it'll probably come up. We're everywhere. It's crazy. Okay. So when I was listening, I don't know if you're watching us, then you will have seen that I started to chuckle when the commercials were playing, and I started to chuckle because what did it say? Your voice matters. Your voice matters. You matter. What you do, what you say matters, right? Yeah. That's what we've got to get to. We've got to get to the place where we can actually really get clarity on what that means. What does that look like? What am I doing here? What am I doing here? So what I want to share with you right now, I was talking with a client the other day, and we were talking about this idea of putting ourselves out there as business people, putting our products on display. And if you don't have a product, what do you put on your right? If you don't have a product, then what you put on display is you, right? When you're a service-based business, that's what you do. Now, if we are banging up against some of these ideas about what it means to toot your own horn, what it means to stand up and say, I'm pretty awesome at whatever, what are some of those messages that come up for you? One of them is like, for me, you should be humble, right? You should be humble and you shouldn't be arrogant, because if you are arrogant, people aren't going to like you, right? So let's pull that one apart really quickly right now, because here's the thing. What is arrogance? What is arrogance? Arrogance is that, like, beating my own chest and telling you how much better I am than you, right? The energy of arrogance is not the energy of confidence. The energy of arrogance is not the energy of acknowledging that I've done a pretty great job at something, okay? Or I've learned something. When I first started this show, I was terrified. I had no idea what I was going to do. But I will tell you now, after 2+ years, 2.5 years, I think we are, um, I have put in the time. I have put in the effort. I have put in everything that I could to learn how to do this really well. And I will own that. Thank you very much, because that is not arrogant. Okay. I have put in the effort to become good at, or I have a natural gift at something, which we're going to get into in a minute, that makes this a thing that I can do in a unique way that makes it special. There's nothing wrong with owning that. There is no arrogance in that. Again, arrogance is, I'm so much better than you. And self-confidence says, I know I'm good at this, whatever this may be, right? Whatever this may be. One of my neighbors she's got a new grandson, and they had a barbecue in the summertime. I went over and he was he was tired. He was just tired and he was fussy. And I know it's kind of hard to see parts of my body from what you can see on the screen right now, but I have some really nice pillows, and babies really like these pillows. And I don't know what it is. There's something that I do, and I don't even know what it is, honestly, because it's just something that comes so natural to me. But if you give me a fussy baby, and this is historically almost my entire life, I almost always have the ability to get them sleeping or very, very calm within a few minutes. And that's what happened that day. So I ended up holding this little guy for most of the barbecue, because every time that he would go to somebody else, he would wake up and he'd get fussy. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's just something that comes naturally. And this is something that has been a natural thing for me throughout my entire life. And I think that that's one of the things. When something comes so easily, so naturally to us, isn't it a little bit hard to recognize it as something special? Yeah. So what do we do? What do we do when we see someone else doing something that maybe wouldn't be a thing that would come naturally for us? Maybe we couldn't do it at all. Maybe it would require us to work really hard. Maybe we don't have the skill set, right? Think about this for, and I want to specifically focus on athletes, okay? Because athletes, there is, the professional kind, there is a certain amount of natural God-given ability. And there's a lot of hard work generally that goes into developing that, right? So does it take anything away from me if I see some, I don't know, a dancer, a skater, a basketball player, whatever it is? Does it take anything away from me to say, wow, they're really good? Does it take anything? No, it takes nothing away from me. And especially if you're the kind of person who really likes to acknowledge other people, then it might be really natural for you to go around and say, wow, you did a great job at that. Wow, you're really talented. There's a lady that I know on Facebook, and I think it's a new thing, but she started putting up these pictures that she's creating. Oh my God. I am blown away every time. And she'll take pictures as she's going through her process. It is absolutely brilliant. I have another lady that I know who does beading and also incredibly brilliant. So, what if you could turn that same appreciation on yourself? How would that impact how you perceive yourself? So, again, let's go to that arrogance versus self confidence, because self confidence is something that will help you in any area of your life, isn't it? Right. So, when you go to a job interview and you show up feeling confident and like, yeah, I got this, I know how to do this. Do you think the interviewer might perceive you, or the business owner might perceive you in a different way than if you showed up going, yeah, I can do the job? Self confidence is sexy. Let's just call it what it is. Self confidence is sexy. It's also a thing that we need to develop, because if we don't understand who we are, how do we be confident in what we can do? And again, there's a difference between the energy of I've got this and oh, I am the best, right? Feel it. I've got this versus, oh, I'm better than you. I'm better than you. Competition in that way is not helpful, right? It's not helpful to anybody. You don't have to be better than anybody else. And this is one of the things that I love about my life, because there's so much of like everybody brings their thing to the table. And what can we create together? That kingdom of we, that collaboration. Because when we work together, we can create so much more for everybody, can't we? So think about this like in the area of dating. In the area of dating, if you are somebody who is, well, and maybe you're not single, but if you're somebody who's out in the dating world, right? Are you going to be more drawn to the person who walks into the room with, their head held high? Or are you going to be more drawn to the person who's really quiet and I have no judgment. There are different ways of being for different people. But I can tell you that for myself, somebody needs to sort of match my energy for it to feel good for me, right? So self-confidence for me is attractive. Self-confidence for me is something that I look for in every way in my life. If you see somebody get out on a stage, right? And again, it doesn't matter what they're doing. If they're speaking, if they come out and they, again, they walk out onto the stage, right? They walk out onto the stage and they've got some swagger. They've got that, sway to their hips or whatever it is, because it depends on who it is, right? And then they get up there and they start talking like they know what they're talking about. Don't you receive them differently than somebody who is not confident? Don't you receive that energy differently? It's a very innate thing. It's a very innate thing for us as animals, as beings, for us to pick up on the energy of other people. And don't you have more confidence in someone's abilities or in their products or in their services when they show up and they actually sound like they know what they're talking about, right? Don't you have more confidence in them? I do. And maybe that's a judgment. I don't know. I think that that's more of an awareness of, this is a person that seems to know what they're talking about. Right. So I'll share with you this. When I started speaking, I used to think that I was scared of speaking. As I did my work, what I realized was that I wasn't really scared of speaking, because there was a time when I got up on stage and I was talking about my grief journey after losing my sister. And there were hundreds of people in that room, like way more people than I had ever spoken for in any way in my life. And the moment that I started to speak from my heart was the moment that all of my nerves completely fell away. I was just talking about my experience. Before that, I had been afraid to get up on stages. And what I now understand was that there had been that sort of thing about being humble, about not being arrogant, about not beating on your own chest. And again, we got to get clear on what is that energy versus this is something that I've got to share with you. This is something that I can share with you. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's the energy of the thing that makes it the arrogance. It's not that you know what you're doing that makes it arrogance. All right. So we're going to head to our next break. You are with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I am your host, Jackie Mott. Today we are talking about celebrate you, why it's so very important for you to acknowledge yourself, your accomplishments, what makes you unique and special. And when we come back from this break, we're going to get into that practical sort of how to list. So if you can, grab yourself a pen and paper and find a place where you can be quiet for a few minutes. And if not, I'd encourage you to go back and find the recording of this episode. So stick with us for a moment. We will be right back.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? Our subliminal soundtrack plays in the back of our minds 24/7. It's filled with everything we've ever learned about money, relationships, body, and sexuality, about every single aspect of our lives. If you don't have what you desire, the Subliminal Soundtrack Reset program may be the very key to changing it all. In this 8-week program, designed by Jackie Mott, you'll learn to replace messages that stop your desires with new ones that not only support you in creating what you truly desire, but expand your life to higher levels of joy and pleasure. Go to phoenixcoach.ca today to sign up and begin creating your life on purpose.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca, where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello, and welcome back to Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott. Today we are talking about celebrate you. Why is it so important to acknowledge yourself? Why is it so important to celebrate yourself? Now, Kim said to me on the break, she said, you always talk about pen and paper. I never write anything down anymore. It's all digital. And it's got me thinking about a couple of things. So it's got me. Yeah. I had a conversation with a good friend of mine this morning where we were talking about all of this like technology stuff, and we're a bit older, I think, than Kim, or maybe not, because I know that there's also, a different breed of people who are really great with the technology. I love my pen and my paper, and I write notes, and that's how I do things. I got so many notebooks around. It's awesome. So interesting though, right? Like what makes you different? What makes you special? If you are somebody who is really who finds technology easy, please don't discount that, because there are people like me who we learn and we do. And okay, so Kim says she's 52. I'm turning 51 on Tuesday. So it's not, it's got nothing to do with age. It's just differences that make people unique. So please celebrate that. If you are somebody who's really good with technology, or I've got a friend who's so curious about this stuff. She's like, oh, do I have my phone? She's like, oh, you gotta, oh, that right. There's a new app. There's a new, I don't know. There's a new, right? And I'm like, okay, what does that mean? Different ways of being with things, right? So there you go. There's one right there. People are great with technology and some people are not. So there you go. So before we get back into the content, I'm going to take a moment to celebrate myself, and not just because it's my birthday. I'm pretty sure I told you something special was happening not very long ago. It's here. So this is my book, Believe All Things Are Possible. Break free from the top 3 mindset myths to create the joy and abundance you desire and deserve. Also interesting. So, remember how we talked about this idea of where some people find things, it where something comes so naturally to somebody that they don't really acknowledge or appreciate how big a deal this thing is. I'm so very, very fortunate and blessed, because my tribe of people, have been, oh my God, like you did it. You did. I'm so proud of you. And I've been a little bit like, I don't quite know what to do with that, because writing is something that does come fairly easily. And they're helping me to learn to acknowledge and celebrate myself even more, right? Right. So this is one of the things that we're going to get into. We're going to get into this as we go through our tips, our sort of practical, how do we do this thing? We're going to be talking about that because it's very important to recognize, okay, so at the top of the show, I was talking about how we can't wait for or depend on outside people, outside forces to show us how great we are, right? Because that is a losing game, because then we're dependent on the moods and the ideas and the belief systems and the subliminal soundtrack of those other people to help us establish our identity. But we also really benefit when we can create a tribe of people who see us and who can support us and reflect back at us. Do you see what I'm saying? Who can acknowledge that my friend wrote a book and I'm so proud of her. Okay. Do you understand what I'm getting at? That was a hard one. That was a hard one for me, was to make that into a win. And in fact, I didn't even announce it publicly until a week after the book arrived. I mean, there were a lot of other things going on, but this is why I talk about this, because it's something that I have also struggled with. I've come miles from where I used to be, but it's also something that still comes up for me. So let's get into this. Let's just go right into the tips. So the first thing that I'd like you to consider, what comes easily for you? So are you somebody who's gifted at calming babies? Are you somebody who writes really well? Are you great at listening? Are you good at speaking? Are you like the best cook? What is the thing that comes easily and also that you enjoy? So it's not just easy for you, but you enjoy it. Maybe you're somebody who works really well with technology. Maybe you're somebody who languages are your thing. Okay. And it's so important to understand that we need every one of those things for some reason or another. I mean, if I didn't have Kim and Kim wasn't good with technology, then I guarantee you this thing would not be happening because I wouldn't be able to do it for myself. Okay. So everything is needed, every skill set. And when we allow people to show up with their skill sets and do what is easy for them, it's crazy how things can show up. So, what comes easily for you? Some of the things for me is obviously the speaking, because, when I'm silly, and I'm good with babies, and, writing is so figuring out those things that come easily for you. It was really funny. Somebody asked me the other day how I became a coach. And I had to really think about that for a second. And what I realized was that this role for me, it was a hard role to turn into a business because it's something that comes so easily. It's something that comes so naturally. And I remember being in my living room a few years ago and having a friend say to me, I always feel like you're the person I need to talk to when something happens, or when I need advice, or when I'm rolling around with something, or whatever it was. And she said, you really should be doing this for a living. And that was where it came from. So eh, when we think about the difference between maybe a vocation and a calling, okay, so think about that. What are the things that come so easily for you that maybe it's hard for you to recognize, or when someone else recognizes, you go, oh, okay, I hadn't thought about that. That's where I want you to start. Second thing, what do you do better than others? Okay, so the easily is one thing, the better is a different thing, isn't it? Okay, because even if, okay, so let's go back to this technology thing, because it's just so perfect. Let's go back to this technology thing. There are people who it comes really easily to, and they're curious and they pull it apart and they know what they're doing, like that. There are other people who have maybe an aptitude for it, or an interest in it that they can learn how to do really well, right? And then there's the third category, which would be me. I don't understand it. I'm not a big fan. I do what I need to do, and that's where it stops, right? So it could be that it's something that comes so easily that it's hard for you to understand. And it could be something that you are able to pick up with work and effort, right? Or learning it, or whatever that is. So, what do you do better than other people? What have you come to understand that this is something that I do really well? So, oh, and I had a couple of examples here. Cooking. So we all know that person that at Christmas time, they make the best something, right? It could be the cookies, it could be the treats, it could be the turkey, it could be any, well, or whatever you have. It could be anything, but like there's like, if I get invited to that house, that's where I'm going to be for the meal, right? So think about that. Is that something that you do well? Hospitality, that place that you go where the people just make you feel so warm and so welcome and so loved just by being in their space. So think about those things. What either comes easily, or do you do better? And you know this because people tell you that it makes a difference for them. That's where your tribe comes into this. Now, think about hold on. Think about what makes your way different? What makes your way different than other people? Because like lots of people can cook a turkey, right? Lots of people can invite people into their homes. What makes your way special? What makes it different? And I want you to really how does it feel for other people to receive that or experience it from you? What makes your way of doing it different that allows for that to happen? That if you weren't the one doing it, it probably wouldn't happen. Is it your technique? Is it the thing about how does it make them feel? That's the thing. When you go to certain places and there are people that show up and there's laughter and there's play and there's fun, doesn't it feel different than when they're not there? Right. That's what I'm asking you to really be looking for. So now think about, this is number 4. Think about all of the times that you've done that thing, how it made you feel to create that thing for others, how it made them feel to experience it. And I want you to really like embrace that for a second, whatever it is. How did it make you feel? Did it make you feel all warm and fuzzy and juicy? Did it make you feel all happy and silly and like, oh my God, I can't wait to do that again because it felt so great? Did it make you feel like that? Or did you see that? Let's go back to the baby, that mom's able to relax and enjoy her family because baby is quiet over here and I'm just sitting here quietly enjoying the cuddles. All right. What is the impact that it has for the other person? And how does that make a difference for them? You're acknowledging all of this stuff. And then I want you to really celebrate that. So it could be dancing. You could dance around and say, wow, this is awesome. I'm amazing. Whatever makes you feel good. You could put on some music and just go to it. You could sing a song. You could go and jump around. You could, whatever, but do something to celebrate. Okay. Celebrate that thing, enjoy it. And the last thing I'm going to ask you to do is to acknowledge yourself and the gift that you truly are. Acknowledge yourself and the gift that you truly are, because without you, those experiences would not be happening for the other people. All right, my friends, we're going to head to our next break, last break of the show. Stick with us for just one moment. You're with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I am your host, Jackie Mott. When we come back, we are going to wrap up this conversation about celebrating you, acknowledging how amazing and wonderful you really are. So stick with us for a moment. We'll be right back.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? Our subliminal soundtrack plays in the back of our minds 24/7. It's filled with everything we've ever learned about money, relationships, body, and sexuality, about every single aspect of our lives. If you don't have what you desire, the Subliminal Soundtrack Reset program may be the very key to changing it all. In this 8-week program, designed by Jackie Mott, you'll learn to replace messages that stop your desires with new ones that not only support you in creating what you truly desire, but expand your life to higher levels of joy and pleasure. Go to phoenixcoach.ca today to sign up and begin creating your life on purpose.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca, where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
All right, you are welcome back to Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott. I'm a little bit discombobulated today. It's the truth. It's been a great day, but I'm just looking outside. I so want to be out there. It is the most beautiful fall day here. All of the leaves are coming down. The sun is shining. I can't wait to get out there when we're done. So let's wrap up this conversation about celebrating you, about acknowledging how freaking amazing you truly are. Because here's the deal. So in order for us to really embrace and understand who we are in this world, it is very important for us to develop that self-confidence, to understand who we are and all of those unique gifts, those unique quirks, those challenges, those flaws, all of it is necessary in order to create the only version of you that could ever be. So when we acknowledge those things, we do what I call building a bulletproof belief in yourself. Now, the really beautiful thing about having a bulletproof belief in yourself is it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks or what anyone else says. Do I appreciate it when somebody compliments me or when somebody acknowledges that I've done something? Absolutely. That's not what this is about. Okay. There are people out there who will support us and love us and reflect back at us how amazing we are. And there are people out there who won't. And there are also people out there who will do the exact opposite and do what they can to harm us. Now, whether that's a purposeful thing or not, I'm not even having a judgment about that, but there's a scale there. Okay. So where it's really important for us to have this bulletproof belief in ourselves is when things go off the rails. When you are in a position where somebody has said something or done something that it could potentially really hurt your feelings or really take you off course. Okay. So for example, if somebody were to say, like, let's just go back to the baby example, right? If somebody were to come to me today and say, oh my God, you are so bad with babies, what would my reaction be? My reaction would be, oh, okay. And I'd probably laugh and then I'd get on with my day. Because the truth of the matter is that I know that that's not true. So that is that bulletproof belief in yourself. And the bulletproof belief in yourself is absolutely essential for us to really embrace what we're here to do, for us to really show up as the only us that can do the things the way we can do them. Because your voice, remember, your voice matters. That's the commercial. And in this case, I don't always buy into commercials, but in this case, it's true. You are the only person that can say something to somebody in the way that you say it. You're the only one who can create that space for people where they feel welcome in the way that you make them feel welcome. Whatever your gifts are, you're the only person who can handle the technology that makes it possible for Jackie to be on here talking every Friday afternoon, right, Kim? Do you see what I'm saying? So all of us are needed. All of us are essential. All of our gifts are special and wonderful and unique. All of them. Bulletproof belief in yourself is where this lives. So, and guys, I've got so much more to talk about. I'm sorry. We are right down to the wire. I wish that I could keep talking with you for another hour, and maybe this needs to become a workshop or something, but we're going to have to cut it off there. So the quote that I'd like to leave you with today is this: in order to be who you were born to be, you must recognize what makes you unique and special. When you acknowledge those things, you can begin to learn to appreciate yourself and who and what you are. When you can appreciate who and what you are, you can begin to love yourself. And when you can learn to truly love and appreciate yourself, you will have that bulletproof belief in yourself. It all starts with acknowledgement and appreciation. So go ahead, celebrate you. All right, my friends, that is what we've got for you this week. Thank you so much for being with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. Next week, we will be back at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, every Friday afternoon, by the way. 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 Mountain, 10 Pacific. And next week's show, we will be talking about remembering. How far have you come already? Because next week is Remembrance Day, isn't it? Yes. So that is next week's show. We'll be talking on that about honoring your journey. How far have you already come? Have you taken the time yet? Or will you take the time as you go through this process of learning to acknowledge how wonderful you are? Will you take the time also to see how far you've truly come? Thank you so much for being with me. I hope I will see you back here next Friday. Don't forget to go to JackieMott.com and grab that e-guide, which is 5 steps to create a mindset wired for success. You can find me on social media. Just search Jackie Mott Mindset and Empowerment Expert. We are working on building up the YouTube stuff. So go there. There's a whole bunch of videos that I've been uploading over the last few weeks. And don't forget, believe all things are possible. So thanks again so much for being with me today. It's my favorite time of the week to come here and talk with you about these things. Thank you for sharing your time, your energy. I'll see you back here next week. And until then, don't forget, it's your time to rise and thrive.
Thank you for joining us for Time to Rise and Thrive radio show. Jackie Mott will return next Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Have a fantastic week, and remember, it's your time to rise and thrive.